everybody, John12 back here again with another video, and I'm here to give you my official review for Dragon Ball Super Episode 21. Now, of course, if you haven't seen this episode, please go check it out, because this review may contain spoilers. But that being said, let's get into this week's Dragon Ball Super episode. Now, obviously, if you have been up to date with my Dragon Ball Super episode reviews, then you would know that I'm very unhappy with the Resurrection F saga, which I'm sure a lot of hardcore Dragon Ball fans are as well. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one out there. At least, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who's actually bashing them on a weekly basis quite frequently. However, I know that I'm not the only one who feels very disappointed on how half-assed this saga has really been. However, this episode, amongst the others, actually has original content. Yes, Toei Animation, I guess, decided to do something original for once and gave us some actual decent episodes. Or at least it seems to have been that they're actually starting to give us some original content from the various teasers for next week's episode, and of course for the majority of the second half of this episode, which to I say, let's get New York on the fucking phone and let's tell them, I know it's not Thanksgiving anymore, but can we get the Macy's parade, because Toei Animation needs it for actually doing something. But that being said, this episode really was, I guess to a certain extent, uneventful, because there wasn't any real major fighting sequences. As we already know, this episode takes place while the Z fighters have arrived on the battleground. Frieza's forces have come out of the spaceship. They're about to attack. And of course, if you've seen the movie, then you know what happens. Basically, Gohan, Piccolo, Tien Shenhan, Krillin, and Master Roshi team up together. Bulma and Jaco are, of course, in the sidelines, and they're off to take down Frieza's forces. And that's pretty much all that happens in this episode. I mean, it's pretty much a fight. Not really that well done, I might add, and also not very well animated. Of course, the movie is far superior. But regardless of any of that, I will say this. Even though the fighting sequences and animation sequences for the fight for the Z Warriors versus the Frieza forces, I will say this. I did feel that the Krillin moments was very interesting. I didn't really know at first where they were going to go with it, because, for one, it kind of bothered me because in the movie, they get right into business. You know, Master Roshi's kicking ass, Tien is kicking ass, Piccolo, Gohan are doing their thing, Jaco's running around doing his hilarity, and then Krillin is obviously kicking ass too, because Krillin, even though like, I guess the universal perception of Krillin as a Dragon Ball Z character has really changed over the course of the last couple years, and I know that has a lot to do with Team 4-Star. Like, Team 4-Star have really, changed, like, how we see Krillin, because everybody who's a Dragon Ball fan really wants to see that Krillin death count, or that Krillin own count. We want to see that count, and we always want to see Krillin get fucked over. And Dragon Ball Super has really kind of done that to a certain extent. I mean, like, you have those moments with Krillin trying to prove himself. He becomes a cop. He's like, he asks Goku to punch him because he wants to see how he fares off strength-wise, and now he has this one episode where he has to try and prove himself, and he doesn't feel like he's adequate enough to take on the Frieza forces, which is a very interesting plot device, I might add. I don't think it was done perfectly, but I think it was a nice touch that at least the writers of this episode were trying to achieve. I know what they were trying to do, and I appreciate them for actually trying. Essentially, Krillin feels very inadequate in his abilities to take on Frieza's forces. However, he obviously tries to take them down, and obviously eliminates a shit ton of them. And I really like that. And of course, Frieza has that obvious dumbass look on his face as to, like, how the hell did he get all strong? Because, Frieza's a dick, and, he's a piece of shit. But that being said, moving off of that, we get into the more original content side, which of course goes to the Red Devil character, which I forget his name, mostly due to the fact that I have zero interest in the character at all, so I pretty much never cared to remember the character's name. Of course, in the comment section below, let me know what the character... I mean, I could just look it up myself, but if you want, please, in the comment section below, let me know what that character's name actually is. But essentially, he goes and takes on Gohan. Gohan is going to fight him, which I felt was the main thing about the episode that I really didn't like, because when we go back and compare it to the movie, that character actually takes on a fight with Piccolo, and it was a really cool moment. I mean, Piccolo obviously is one of my favorite characters, as is Gohan. Of course, not anymore, considering how Dragon Ball Super has completely demolished the, the importance of freaking Gohan. But that being said, I really liked that fight in the movie, and the one thing that really bothered me was that Gohan stepped in and took out that character without Piccolo, delivering the final move, which I'm pretty sure Piccolo had the capabilities of doing. So I was hoping on the TV show that they would change that around and have Piccolo actually defeat that character. However, they switched it around and just had Gohan take him on, and of course it ends completely the polar opposite of the movie. Obviously, Gohan does not take him down. He gets taken out, actually, right before. Spoilers. Also, of course, I don't know if I mentioned it in the beginning of this episode, but obviously this episode is going to, this review will contain spoilers, so please keep that in mind. But that being said, obviously the big spoiler is that the character Tagoma, if I'm saying that correctly, once again, I don't know the side characters' names that by heart, mostly due to the fact that I know, every other hardcore Dragon Ball fan out there, especially on YouTube, know their names, but for me, I just never cared to memorize them because, for one, I never liked them, and the Resurrection F movie, as much as I love it, I really didn't care about those side characters like Tagoma and Sorbet and the, the Red Devil character, and, I didn't like them. I really did. I'm just saying that, what the frickin' the ray gun ring, come on, that just pisses me off on a daily basis. So, of course, I never cared to understand those characters' backstories or their names. But I'm guessing the tall guy who actually did not get killed, and everyone on YouTube was essentially fan-theoring that, oh, he's gonna have a bigger role. Well, essentially, we got to get a reveal as to what his big role is. And essentially, his character is gonna be single-handedly taking down the entire Z Fighters, which boggles my mind. I mean, like, for one, I don't know how that's possible. In the episode, they kind of flashback to a certain extent as to, he starts talking to Sorbet or what have you, or, what the fuck, and he's, discussing that I guess he was training with Frieza or whatever the hell. I don't know what the heck happened. I mean, once again, it's just a terrible move on Toei Animation's part. As I stated with my previous episode review on Dragon Ball Super, it was a big missed opportunity. They should have actually shown the training sequences of Frieza, Goku, and Vegeta, because now that you see that this character can take on characters like Piccolo, Gohan, and hell, even Tien and Master Roshi and Krillin, it just doesn't make any sense because you don't have the backstory to support that theory. However, in this flashback, we get a good sequence, I guess, to a certain extent, of this character, training with Frieza or whatever on this distant planet, which looked kind of cool. I wish they could have dedicated an episode to it. Unfortunately, they didn't. But it was kind of cool to see that. But basically, it seems that his character is superpowered. I don't know how, but now he's going to take on Gohan, Piccolo, and the rest of the gang single-handedly, and it seems that based off next week's episode, we're going to get some Gotenks action, which of course I'll get into later. But overall, that was kind of cool. Once again, I don't care about that character. I really have zero interest in the side characters of the Frieza forces, so once again, I really don't care. But I will admit, the ending, which featured Frog Ginu, was pretty hilarious. I know a lot of people are speculating that Frog Ginu has been introduced because he's going to swap bodies with Tagoma or whatever the fuck that tall dude's name is. Which I feel like, if that's going to happen, I feel like that's okay if that happened. But my big question is, what will Captain Ginu do if he does swap bodies? Is he going to join Frieza's force again? Or is he just going to take that body and get the fuck out of there? Because if I was Ginyu, I would just leave the fighting to the Z Warriors again, because like you already got your ass whooped by Goku in the rest of the game back in the Frieza saga, dude, and you've been a frog for this many years, and I know you're probably pissed off about that, and maybe you want some revenge, I don't know, but let's be honest, you're not going to fare off that well at all with these characters. Come on, let's just face, I mean, hell, not even Frieza can. I know everybody's a believer, you know, everybody's like a Justin Bieber believer when it comes to Frieza, but no, it's not going to happen. He's going to lose again. They're probably going to have some half-assed ending where it's like, maybe they're going to lose, but no, they're not going to lose. We already see this coming. Frieza will lose. So, unfortunately, I don't think Ginyu will fare off as well, but we'll have to wait and see. I want to know people's personal speculations on the Frog Ginyu front in the comments section below. But that being said, that's pretty much the entire episode for Dragon Ball Super episode 21. If I had to give my final verdict right now, I have to give it a solid, I guess a 6 out of 10. It's definitely a little above average. It's not the greatest episode of the series so far. It's not like the be-all, end-all episode of the Resurrection F saga. But there was some original content, and there was some very interesting stuff in the episode itself. Like the Krillin taking on Frieza's forces was pretty cool. Jocko fucking around was pretty funny as always. Essentially freaking Tagoma showing up and being like, now I'm gonna kick all your asses or some said shit. That was pretty interesting. Even though I have zero interest in that character, it was still kind of interesting. And it was pretty cool. It was just pretty cool. It was a pretty decent episode. It was enjoyable. Of course, the entire first half of the episode was very boring because, once again, it was very shot for shot of the movie. And it was obviously done terrible in comparison, obviously, because, you know, movie budgets and TV budgets are very different. But I think they did okay for what they were capable of doing, even though I feel like they should have done a little bit more original content in comparison, because I'm just saying that whole first half of the episode was so unbelievably boring that I almost gave up. But thankfully, they actually did some really cool stuff at the end, and that kind of changed my, overall perception of what this saga can really be heading. And plus, after seeing the teaser for next week's episode, it seems that we're going to get some very interesting fighting sequences. It looks like Tagoma, or what have you, is going to be taking out motherfuckers. I mean, Piccolo's losing his arm, Gotenks goes Super Saiyan, Gohan, who gives a shit? Shit is going to go down. But that being said, also, I forgot to mention with when it comes to this episode, is the Goku Vegeta stuff. It was kind of weird to see that kind of stuff go down. I don't really know the logistics of what that really meant. Essentially, they were continuing their training with Whis and Beerus, but it seemed that Whis, for some reason, sucked up into some kind of weird red vortex. I don't know what that technically meant. In the comment section below, let me know your personal speculations on that, of course. But that being said, this episode was very, very interesting. It was very, very decent, and it was good to see an actual original episode out of the Resurrection F saga, seeing as how majority of the episodes have been very disappointing, boring, and a complete waste of time. But that being said, let me know what you personally think. And of course, once again, my big question I want to know from every Gohan fan out there is, now that Chapter 6 of the manga has come out, and I'm pretty sure everyone has read it at this point in time. Of course, if you haven't, please go check it out, because I'm going to give you some spoilers here. But now that Goku has officially revealed that he does not care about Gohan anymore, and he's not a fighter, and he has more belief in freaking Piccolo's abilities to become a fighter than actually Gohan, his own son, his first freaking born son. I want to know, does it kill you inside when you see Gohan fight in this episode? I read the chapter obviously way before I saw this episode, but when I was watching the episode, it was so difficult for me to take Gohan serious after hearing Goku's words about what he really thinks about Gohan. It was so freaking depressing. It's like, Gohan, just kill yourself. Just because it's so depressing. He doesn't care about him anymore. He's a fucking nerd. Fuck him. He's a nerd. Fuck him. I'm telling you guys, I love Gohan with a passion, but he has really been a major disappointment, and my idea of what the future needs to happen with that character needs to happen already, because not even the great Goku, the hero, the protagonist of this story, doesn't believe in him. I want to know everybody's personal thoughts on that. But that being said, comment below. Let me know what you personally think about Dragon Ball Super Episode 21, your personal speculations about next week's episode, and of course, next chapter of the manga, and how do you think the Universe 6 and 7 tournaments are going to be going down. And of course, let me know your personal thoughts on the many questions I had in this episode review. But that being said, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jonch12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and this has been Jonch12.